Hey guys, tonight we are traveling back in time to explore the bustling food markets of ancient Thailand. Picture this. You are waking up on a reed mat in a riverside village. The morning air is heavy with mist, the kind that drapes itself over rooftops and settles on your arms like silk. You stretch slowly, one eye open, one still asleep, as the sound of wooden paddles rhythmically slicing through water fills your ears. A rooster crows nearby, sounding far too proud for someone who did not make the sun rise. In the distance, bells clink softly as boats begin to bump against the docks, and smoke curls from tiny clay stoves. Already, someone is chopping green onions with determination. You probably will not survive this morning, at least, not with dry feet or a completely empty stomach. But that is all right, because you are not here to hurry. You are here to wander, to observe, to taste whatever is handed to you without question. Hopefully not a cricket, but also, possibly a cricket. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I would also love to know where you are listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you notice is the way everything glistens. The boards beneath your feet are slick with dew. The air smells faintly of clay, fish sauce, and banana leaf. You step out from under the thatched roof, and a gentle breeze ruffles your shirt, already loose to help you cope with the heat that has not fully arrived yet. The river is wide and calm, like a bowl of morning tea, smooth and brown. It reflects the palms and stilted houses leaning toward it like gossiping ants. You hear laughter before you see people. It bubbles up from between the stalls, from the boats drifting lazily into position. There is no rush, only the quiet choreography of a market waking up. Canoes glide up to the bank and bump gently against the landing. Women in indigo-dyed shirts step out gracefully, balancing baskets piled high with produce. You see banana clusters, green and yellow, stacked like staircases. There are pomelos bigger than your head, bundled herbs tied in twine, and one vessel entirely devoted to coconuts, their green skins shining like polished jade. Historians still argue whether river markets emerged purely out of geography or if the people simply preferred to float while shopping. The truth likely rests in both. Rivers were roads before roads, and in a land that floods as easily as it grows, water was not the obstacle, it was the marketplace. You walk slowly along the edge of the river, where wooden planks serve as temporary paths. A woman offers you a grilled banana wrapped in a leaf, its skin caramelized and warm. You accept it with both hands and bite. It is sweet, earthy, and tastes like it was kissed by a fire that never needed to roar. The stalls on land are just beginning to hum. Traders set up cloth canopies. They scoop grains from sacks, polish fruit, and test the tilt of their scales. You see jars being unsealed and smell something sour, but promising. You follow it, unsure if your curiosity or your appetite is stronger. A vendor is arranging clay jars filled with pickled things. Mango slices in brine, chilies in vinegar, something orange and shredded that might be papaya or perhaps something more mysterious. He grins and says something in a sing-song tone you almost understand. You smile back. He hands you a skewer with something red and wobbly. You take it. You chew. It is salty and a little alarming. You chew again. It is growing on you. This is how mornings begin here. There is no announcement, no horn, no tolling bell. The market does not open so much as unfurl. One boat ties itself to another, then another, until the canal is lined with floating stalls, rocking gently like children's cradles. Traders pass goods from canoe to canoe. Some balance baskets on poles. Others simply call across the water, negotiating prices without moving an inch. A girl in a conical hat sells river snails from a large basin. They are alive, very alive. One tries to escape and is gently nudged back in with a stick. You crouch beside her, watching her sort them by size. She hums a tune as she works, one that sounds like a lullaby and a warning at the same time. The sun climbs, painting the water with gold and shadow. You begin to sweat just a little. The river smells more of heat now. A boat drifts by with grilled sausages on a small charcoal burner, and the scent wraps around you like a warm scarf. You consider jumping in, not to swim, just to cool your ankles. But there is more to see. A group of boys carries baskets of eggs to a stall near the banyan tree. Some of the eggs are duck, some quail, and some questionably large. One boy insists they are from a special goose. You nod, not convinced. The eggs are placed carefully in woven trays. A woman with strong forearms arranges them like jewelry, her fingers quick and sure. There are no fixed prices, only understanding. Each purchase is a conversation. Every handful of coins handed over and accompanied by laughter, sighs, or a dramatic recounting of a cousin who paid less last week. Bargaining is not just expected, it is the entertainment. You find a low bench near a tamarind tree and sit for a moment, banana leaf still warm in your hand. A child toddles past with sticky rice on her cheek. A cat stretches across a basket of shallots. A vendor ties her hair back with one hand while flipping grilled fish with the other. It is early still, but already the market is alive, breathing, floating, filled with the quiet thunder of daily joy. You rise slowly from your spot under the tamarind tree, brushing away a few stray grains of sticky rice that have adhered to your sleeve. Though you have no memory of how they got there, the air is warming, and with it, the pace of the market shifts just a little. Still calm, still steady, but now with a hint of intention. It is time for trading. You follow the sound of clinking brass bowls and soft voices layered with teasing and laughter. The traders have arranged themselves along long wooden planks, some suspended over the water, others nestled beneath woven canopies that sway with the breeze. These stalls are not permanent. They are held together with trust, habit, and rope. Their owners squat beside them on folded mats, legs crossed, arms moving in a rhythm as familiar as breathing. You come upon a stall where an older woman is slicing open a jackfruit the size of a sleeping dog. Its spiny green skin glistens with sap, and with each slice, a new wave of sweetness spills into the air. She works quickly, dipping her hands in a bowl of water to keep the sap from sticking. Beside her, a man in a frayed hat begins laying out coins, not in a pile, but in a precise line. She sees him. She does not look up. She simply names a price. He shakes his head. She counters with a shrug. He adds one more coin, still lined up neatly. She nods and hands him a packet wrapped in banana leaf. This is bargaining in its gentlest form. No shouting, no sales pitch, just eye contact, reputation, and the subtle art of mutual respect. Historians still argue whether bargaining in ancient Thai markets followed rules, or if it was more like music, improvised but guided by shared understanding. The truth seems to lie in tone, posture, and history. Sellers know their buyers, buyers know their sellers. The haggling is part performance, part poetry. You continue down the lane. A boy no older than 12 tries to sell you a single mango. He cups it in both hands, lifts it as if offering treasure, and says a number that feels suspiciously high. You raise an eyebrow. He lowers the price immediately. You say nothing. He adds a second mango. You accept. He beams, ties them together with a strip of palm fiber, and sends you off with a quick bow. Mangoes, you learn, are not just sold by color or size. They are also categorized by texture, scent, and intended purpose. Some are for slicing and dipping in chili sugar. Others are for mashing into paste. A few, bruised and freckled, are for fermenting into something far more powerful. At the next stall, you find a woman fanning flies away from a spread of herbs laid out like scrolls. She points to each and names them softly: holy basil, galangal, kaffir lime leaves. You nod as if you know which ones belong in soup and which should never go near it. She smiles knowingly and places a sprig of mint behind your ear. A pair of young girls, no taller than your shoulder, are peeling shallots together. Their hands move fast, dropping the skins into a woven tray at their feet. They hum in harmony. Every few minutes, they glance up to watch the bargaining, as if preparing for their future roles on the mats. You hear a splash and turn to see a woman stepping from her canoe into ankle-deep water. Her skirt is tied high, her sleeves rolled. She lifts to baskets filled with tamarind and tiny green limeys. With a practiced motion, she places the baskets across a bamboo pole and lifts it onto her shoulders. The baskets sway but do not spill. She walks past you and murmurs a greeting. Her toes make soft splashes. Her smile is small but sure. Around the bend, you find a cluster of stalls buzzing with conversation. It seems everyone has gathered here to buy and gossip in equal measure. You spot a man trading peanuts for ginger root, a grandmother exchanging dried chilies for eggs. Someone tells a story about a cobra found in a jackfruit tree. The story changes slightly each time it is retold. You squat beside a woman sorting baskets of long beans. She offers you a slice of something red and chewy. You hesitate. She nods. You eat. It tastes like tamarind and mystery. She chuckles. As the sun climbs higher, the voices rise too, not in volume, but in energy. The bargaining becomes brighter. A woman waves a fish in one hand and a price in the other. Her opponent holds up a string of garlic and counters. Somewhere behind you, a child starts to cry. It lasts 2 seconds. Someone hands him a coconut sweet. He stops. The apprentice from a nearby stall begins practicing his negotiation. He tries to sell a tiny, misshapen banana. His customer is his grandmother. She laughs, pays triple, and hands it back. He eats it with great pride. You sit again beneath another tree, this time a Bodhi tree, its heart-shaped leaves casting dancing shadows. You unwrap your mangoes and eat them slowly. Around you, the market pulses with life. It is not loud. It is not chaotic. It breathes like a living thing. It bends with the breeze. It listens to the river. And as you watch a woman lean across her mat to adjust the angle of her papayas so that the sun hits them just right, you realize you are no longer just a visitor. You are part of this rhythm. The bargaining continues. The jackfruit is gone. The mangoes glisten. The market swells with the scent of grilled rice cakes and lemongrass. And you are still hungry. The scent catches you off guard before you even see the jars. It is rich, sour, deeply fermented, and somehow still faintly fishy in a way that almost dares you to come closer. You follow your nose down a narrow row of stalls, shaded by palm leaves, the air thick with humidity and promise. There they are, dozens of earthenware jars arranged in uneven rows, each sealed with a cloth and a heavy lid. Some have been opened already, revealing thick paste or dark liquid swirling with something unidentifiable. You step closer, and the smell grows bolder. It is the smell of plara. Plara is fermented fish, a staple of markets here, and a mystery to your nose. It has been made for generations, prepared with salt and rice bran, left to ferment for months, sometimes years. The result is a condiment, a marinade, and, depending on whom you ask, a miracle or a menace. A woman with bright eyes and a faded scarf gestures you closer. She dips a long wooden spoon into one of the jars and lifts out a thick, brown mixture. She points to a clay bowl beside her where she has already mashed it with lime and chili. You understand that she is offering you a sample. You glance around, hoping for a distraction, but everyone seems preoccupied with chili peppers or baskets of onions. You take the bowl, scoop a bit with a slice of cucumber, and taste. The flavor is shocking, then strange, then suddenly makes sense. It is salty, umami, tangy, and strangely earthy, like licking history in the best possible way. The woman grins as your eyes widen. You nod, unsure what else to do. She adds a scoop of the mixture to a leaf-wrapped packet and hands it to you. Historians still argue whether plar originated from a need to preserve fish during monsoons or whether it developed from influence along old trade routes. Some suggest Chinese techniques traveled south. Others argue it was born purely from local ingenuity and the inevitability of salt plus time. What is certain is that the market cannot exist without it. You step aside as another customer approaches the stall. He greets the vendor like an old friend and begins comparing jars. He sniffs 3 before settling on one that smells, to you, identical to the rest. He insists that this one has the best depth. You nod, pretending to understand. Farther down the lane, other jars hold different fermented treasures. Shrimp paste, pickled garlic, mango soaked in sugar and chili, a kind of green papaya mash so potent that your nose itches from 2 stalls away. You pause to watch a young girl kneading a mixture of fish and salt with her bare hands. Her arms are coated up to the elbow. She hums as she works. Nearby, her mother ladles the mixture into fresh jars. Each one is tied with rattan and labeled with charcoal. The girl looks up, sees you watching, and proudly declares the next batch will be even stronger. You believe her. Beside her stall, a man stirs a bucket of fish sauce, not the pale, translucent kind you find bottled neatly in stores, but the dark, thick variety that looks almost alive. He explains that it has been fermenting for over a year. He claims he can tell its readiness by listening to the way it moves in the jar. You try not to look surprised. He shrugs. Some people read books. I read sauce. You move on, now more cautious with every sniff. The air grows heavier as midday approaches. Heat thickens around the stalls, drawing sharper edges around each scent. The smoke of small grills blends with the fermented aromas, creating a dizzying fog of flavor and fire. You reach a quieter corner of the market where a woman sells simple rice congee topped with slices of preserved egg and a drizzle of fermented soy. You sit cross-legged on a mat beside her stall and eat slowly, grateful for the warmth and balance. The congee is gentle, but the toppings speak volumes. They taste like memory, the kind that belongs to someone else, but that you feel lucky to borrow. Children run past, laughing, carrying packets of pickled guava in wax paper. They wave the slices like tiny green flags. One drops his packet and quickly scoops it up, unbothered. The 5-second rule here feels more like a guideline carved in palm wood. A nearby vendor fans flies from a bowl of fermented crab. She explains that it pairs best with green papaya salad and an audience. She offers you a taste. You politely decline. She laughs and says maybe next time. Later, you watch as a family stops to sample different fish pastes. The father has strong opinions about texture. The daughter prefers a smoother blend. The mother, clearly the authority, settles the debate with one bite and a satisfied nod. A jar is selected. Coins change hands. You realize that fermented foods here are not just flavors. They are conversations, seasons, rituals. The jars are not labeled by exact age, but by moments. The rainy season batch, the mango harvest blend, the one from the year the river ran high. These foods do not rush. They wait, and when they are ready, they speak clearly. The apprentice arrives beside you with a grin and a slightly scorched skewer of grilled pork. He offers it wordlessly. You take a bite. It is smoky and tender, brushed with a sauce you now recognize. Plara, transformed by fire, balanced by sweetness. He holds up his own skewer, gestures around the market, and says, "It always comes back to the jars." You both sit quietly for a while, watching the shoppers pass. Some hold packets. Others carry small clay crocks tied with hemp string. A few walk slowly, pausing at every stall, smelling, tasting, remembering. The market sways with their footsteps, and in that moment, with your mouth still tingling from fermented fire, you realize you will never think of spicy or savory the same way again. The sun now hangs higher in the sky, casting a soft golden light that drips across the thatched rooftops and reflects in shallow puddles left by early foot traffic. You wipe your hands on your shirt and feel the weight of that fermented fish paste packet tucked into your woven satchel. It swings gently as you move, like a quiet reminder of flavor waiting for the right meal. You round a bend in the market path and come upon a small clearing shaded by banana trees. Their wide leaves stretch like umbrellas, dappling the ground in swaying patches of green and gold. Beneath them, women crouch near baskets of mangoes stacked like small pyramids. Their skins range from pale green to golden yellow, some with freckles like constellations. And in the middle of it all, a chalkboard leans against a post with neat handwriting that reads, "Sorted by the moon." You blink. You read it again. A vendor with a smile creased deeply into her cheeks sees your curiosity and beckons you over. She points to the mangoes, then to the sky. In broken phrases, she explains how ripeness is guided not just by softness or scent, but by lunar cycles. According to her, mangoes picked during a waxing moon tend to be sweeter. Those plucked during a waning phase keep longer. Full moon mangoes are better raw. New moon mangoes must be turned into jam or curry. You nod slowly, absorbing her confidence. There is no chart, no notebook, just wisdom woven from seasons and starlight. Historians still debate how much lunar agriculture influenced ancient Thai produce sorting, but records of moon planting charts and seasonal ceremonies suggest it was more than just superstition. It was rhythm, and rhythm, in the market, is everything. You accept a sliver of mango she offers, its flesh cool and melting between your teeth. Sweet, yes, a little tangy, perhaps full moon fruit. She grins and says something that might translate to, "The moon agrees with you." Nearby, a young girl sits cross-legged in front of a wide woven tray of green mangoes. She is slicing them into spears and tossing them with chili, salt, and sugar. You kneel beside her and watch her hands work quickly, confidently, her fingers stained with spice. She offers you a piece and you accept. The mango crunches between your teeth, sharp and electric. It sends a zing straight to your nose and curls your toes in your sandals. She laughs and says, "Good for waking up." You are inclined to believe her. A little farther down the path, another vendor is busy with a bowl of mango puree, stirring it gently with a spoon carved from coconut shell. She explains that this blend is meant for a sweet rice dish sold only during the mid-year festival. She adds sugar, stirs again, then covers it with a clean cloth. It must rest. Like everything here, time adds depth. Children run by, giggling, holding sticks with grilled mango chunks skewered like jewels. A toddler licks mango juice off his elbow. His mother shrugs, wipes it once, then hands him another slice. You are beginning to realize that here, mango is not a treat. It is a language. The mango vendors are deeply aware of what their fruit can do. Some trade in ripe sweetness, meant to be eaten on the spot. Others focus on the firmer, tangier mangoes that are prized for cooking. And a few sell what they call sun mangoes, picked at peak yellow, then left to sun-dry on raised mats until they turn leathery and rich. You help an elderly woman arrange those sun-dried mango slices into packets. She instructs you to fold the leaves just so, to keep the slices safe from moisture and eager hands. She hands you a small packet when you finish. Her gift is warm from the sun and smells faintly of memory. There is a brief pause in the flow of the market. A breeze passes through the banana trees, and several vendors lean back, their arms resting behind them as they share a story. You cannot follow every word, but you catch laughter. A mention of last year's mangoes. A joke about someone who tried to sell early ones and ended up with a cart of mush. Then, as if signaled by a sound you did not hear, the market resumes. You notice a small shrine tucked between two baskets of mangoes, decorated with flowers and a peeled banana. Someone whispers a quick prayer as they pass. Respect, you understand, must be paid to the spirits who guard the fruit and the trees that bore them. A boy walks past, his shirt sticky, holding 3 different varieties of mango in his arms like puppies. He offers you one and mimes asking for a trade. You dig into your bag and produce a pickled mango slice in return. He accepts it solemnly, then vanishes into the crowd. By the time you find a quiet corner to sit again, your hands are stained with fruit juice, your mouth tingles from chili, and your pockets are slightly heavier with gifts you never meant to collect. Above you, the light filters through banana leaves, soft and dappled. The breeze carries the scent of mangoes just beginning to ripen. Somewhere in the distance, a drumbeat sounds from a temple courtyard, calling someone to prayer or be just to lunch. You lean back against a tree trunk and smile. In this market, the moon decides the sweetness. The fruit arrives with stories, and everything tastes better when you do not rush. You are drawn toward the sound of water lapping gently against wooden hulls. The river is busier now, its banks lined with canoes arranged like puzzle pieces, each one cradling a small universe of color and scent. These are the floating stalls, the beating heart of the riverside market. You step carefully onto a long wooden platform that sways slightly beneath your feet. From here, you can see the boats up close. Some are rowed by women in broad-brimmed hats who move with the effortless grace of people who have spent their entire lives on the water. Others are tied in place, bobbing gently as they wait for customers to step down from the embankment and into conversation. Each boat is a market stall, but also a stage. Traders sit cross-legged at the center of their vessels, surrounded by baskets of produce and tools. There is very little separation between their workspace and their lives. A child sleeps under a pile of woven mats. A kettle whistles softly over a clay stove balanced on a square of brick. Somewhere, someone sings. You hop carefully into one of the boats, guided by a steady hand. Inside, you are offered a low stool made from bamboo. The woman running this stall places a fan in your hand and invites you to look around. Her boat is filled with coconuts, pomelos, and bundles of fresh greens tied with lengths of string. You ask about the pomelos. She lifts one and taps it with her knuckles. It gives off a hollow thump. She explains that sound is everything. If the fruit sounds sleepy, it is not ready. If it sings, you eat it today. You buy one, not because you need it, but because she makes it feel like treasure. She carves a small wedge into the rind and hands it to you. The flesh inside is pale pink and glistening. It tastes like mild citrus with a whisper of rose. You nod in appreciation. She taps the side of her boat and smiles. Floating markets like this one were once common across ancient Thailand. Historians still discuss whether their rise was due to flood patterns or a lack of walkable roads. But no matter the cause, the boats brought more than just goods. They brought freedom. Traders could glide from village to village, meeting demand wherever it gathered. You step out and into another boat, this one with rows of eggs, herbs, and chili pastes arranged in wide, flat trays. The vendor gestures toward a row of small bowls, each filled with a different mixture. You try a dab of one with the edge of a lotus petal she offers. It is smoky, tangy, and laced with something that makes your mouth warm in a slow, creeping way. You try another. This one is mild and sweet. Coconut sugar, roasted chili, and tamarind. It tastes like someone wrote a poem about thunder and honey. The vendor laughs softly and tells you the paste was made this morning, just after sunrise. He points to a small note tucked under a bowl that says, "Best before the next rain." You pass a boat that seems to have no food at all. It is stacked with fabric, copper pots, and tiny wooden carvings. A merchant inside is dozing gently, his hat pulled down over his eyes. The boat sways in rhythm with the water, and a duck perches on the edge, eyeing you warily. Next to him, another boat is preparing grilled bananas. The vendor peels them, presses them between two leaves, and grills them over a flat clay stove balanced carefully in the middle of the boat. She flips them with practiced ease, catching one midair without looking. You buy one. It is warm, soft, and slightly charred. The flavor is simple but comforting, like a hug made edible. You glance up and see a narrow boat approaching from upstream. A girl rows it with long, sweeping strokes, her arms strong and steady. Her boat is filled with bundles of green onions and spring herbs. As she passes, she tosses one bundle into the boat beside you. A quiet exchange, a nod. Payment comes later, or maybe never. These are the kinds of trades that come with trust. Your boat drifts slightly, bumping into a canoe stacked with clay pots. A voice calls out cheerfully, asking if you are lost or just lazy. You laugh and wave. The river responds with ripples, and someone from the shore tosses a rope to guide your boat gently back to the line. There is no sharp division between land and water here. People step from boats to docks to stalls as if moving across different rooms in the same home. Children leap between platforms, carrying messages or snacks. Dogs sleep on gangplanks. Cats balance on the edges of baskets. The rhythm of the market is held together by the slow, constant motion of boats gliding past one another. You see no signs, no schedules, no booths marked with numbers. Only people, talking, cooking, trading, laughing. A musician floats by in a canoe strung with wine chimes. He plays a soft melody on a bamboo flute. The sound drifts across the market, threading its way through the smoke and chatter. You pause to listen. The tune is slow, rising and falling with the river. You close your eyes. The boat rocks gently beneath you. Someone laughs nearby. A spoon clinks against a pot. The smell of lemongrass floats by, and a breeze cools the back of your neck. Somewhere upstream, more boats are arriving. You do not know their names or what they carry, but you know they belong here. And so do you. The scent of smoke and something sizzling pulls you away from the gentle rocking of the boats. Your feet land back on solid bamboo planks, though even they seem to shift slightly underfoot with the rhythm of passing footsteps and distant water. You follow your nose through a shaded corridor where the air feels warmer, thick with the hum of fire. Here is where breakfast takes on a new identity. You come upon a stall surrounded by wooden benches and clay fire pits. Coals glow quietly, and bamboo tubes stand upright in neat rows, nestled into the embers like sentries. A woman tends to them, turning each one slowly with a pair of long tongs. She does not look hurried. She is waiting for sound, for smell, for the subtle shift that tells her when the rice is ready. She sees you and gestures toward a bench. You sit. A man next to you slurps something from a folded banana leaf and gives a satisfied sigh. You copy him, only to discover that his breakfast is spicy enough to wake the moon. The woman cracks open one of the bamboo tubes. A soft puff of steam escapes, curling in the air like breath. She peels the charred edges away to reveal a warm roll of sticky rice glistening with coconut milk and speckled with black beans. She hands it to you wrapped in a piece of banana leaf. The rice is soft, rich, and slightly nutty. Sweetness and smoke balance with every bite. It fills you slowly, warming your belly and softening your mind. You thank her, your voice quieter than usual, as if the fire deserves your silence. Sticky rice has been a breakfast staple in Thailand for centuries. Historians point to its presence in royal courts and village homes alike. There are texts describing offerings of sticky rice to temple monks and spirits of the rice fields. But few accounts mention this particular form, steamed in bamboo, fire-kissed and eaten while crouched beside the road. Next to the fire pit, a younger girl is grinding something with a mortar and pestle. You recognize garlic, chili, and fermented fish sauce. She adds palm sugar, lime juice, and slices of green mango. With every strike, the paste becomes louder in scent. When she finishes, she offers you a spoonful. The flavors crash together in your mouth. Sweet, salty, spicy, sour. You blink. She laughs and fans her face as if mimicking the reaction. You do the same. Your eyes water a little. She nods proudly. Breakfast is not subtle here. You watch as more people arrive. Some carry baskets, others lead children, and a few sit and wait with the relaxed posture of those who know their food will arrive when it should, not a moment sooner. Behind you, a man sells fresh soy milk from a tall copper pot. He ladles it into ceramic cups and adds a spoonful of something golden. A neighbor tells you it is ginger syrup. You accept a cup and sip. It tastes like sunrise. Sweet warmth, smooth and quiet. A little farther down, another stall roasts sweet potatoes over an open fire. The vendor cracks one open and steam rises in a white ribbon. He fans it, then presses a small piece into your hand. The skin peels back easily, revealing orange flesh so soft it collapses with a single poke. It tastes like memory, like something eaten while sitting on a porch long before you had anywhere to be. Nearby, someone is frying crickets. Yes, crickets. They are tossed in oil with lime leaves and a sprinkle of chili salt. The vendor smiles and says they are rich in protein. You raise an eyebrow. She offers you one anyway. It is small, crisp, and surprisingly nutty. You chew. You swallow. You nod. Another line you did not expect to cross today. Fried insects are not novelty snacks here. They are food. Nutritious, familiar, common. Historians still argue whether their role in markets was one of necessity or delicacy. Some say it was survival, others say it was choice. Either way, the crickets are here to stay. The stall next door sells grilled pork skewers and pressed rice cakes. The smell of charred fat and lemongrass rises thickly into the air. You buy one skewer and a rice cake wrapped in waxy leaves. The meat is sweet and peppery. The rice is chewy and slightly burnt on the edges. It all makes sense together. Around you, people eat without ceremony, squatting by trees, perched on woven mats, standing mid-haggle. Breakfast is not a pause, It is part of the movement, a flavor passed hand to hand as the market breathes in its morning rhythm. A small group of vendors sits on low stools, sipping tea and laughing. One holds a boiled egg in one hand and a bundle of shallots in the other. Another dunks sticky rice into a sauce you cannot identify. A child spills his food, and a stranger hands him a new portion without hesitation. The woman at the bamboo rice stall waves to you again. She points to a new batch, nearly done. You are full, but you nod. She grins and begins to turn them. A breeze moves through the clearing. The fire pits crackle. The scent of grilled banana and charred lemongrass floats by. Somewhere nearby, someone begins playing a three-stringed instrument with a kind of tune that makes you want to sway. You lean back on the bench and close your eyes. Your hands are sticky with rice. Your belly is full. The fire hums beside you, and somewhere in this moment, between the crackle of bamboo and the scent of sweet smoke, breakfast becomes something more than food. It becomes comfort. As the morning stretches on and the fire pits smolder low, you wander into a different pocket of the market. Here, the air is sharper. There is a crackle of oil and the rustle of dry wings. You catch a whiff of lemongrass, garlic, and something earthy that makes you slow your steps. You have stumbled into the land of fried insects. A woman sits at the center of it all, cross-legged on a thick mat woven from reeds. She is surrounded by shallow baskets filled with crickets, grasshoppers, silkworm pupae, and beetles. Some are still squirming gently. Others lie still, waiting for the walk. She smiles as you approach, her hands working quickly. She tosses a handful of cleaned crickets into a clay bowl with a bit of oil, a touch of salt, and a few torn-up kaffir lime leaves. The bowl empties into the wok, where the mixture sizzles and pops like tiny fireworks. The smell is rich and savory, spiced but not overwhelming. You watch the bugs turn from soft brown to crisp golden as she stirs them with a bamboo paddle. Her motions are gentle, rhythmic. It is clear she has done this hundreds of times before breakfast. She explains in a soft, steady voice that fried insects were once considered food of the forest. People gathered them during the rainy season, especially when rice was scarce. Now, she says, they are a delicacy. And, she adds with a wink, better for the body than a bowl of pork fat. You nod. She scoops a small handful into a folded banana leaf and hands it to you. You stare at them. Legs, wings, antennae. They stare back, or so it feels. Still, you pick one up. You crunch. It is nutty, earthy. The texture is like a toasted seed with a hint of lime. You chew. You swallow. And, oddly, you want another. She claps softly and gestures to the grasshoppers. You learn that each insect has its moment. Crickets for quick protein. Silkworm pupae for soft texture. Water bugs, sliced and grilled, are said to release a scent similar to green apples. That one, you pass on for now. Historians still argue about when insects moved from necessity to cuisine in ancient Thailand. Some believe it was always both. Insects were abundant, easy to prepare, and deeply tied to seasonal rhythms. Others suggest they became fashionable later, especially when royal courts began experimenting with forest food. As you eat, a small boy runs up and begs the vendor for his favorite snack. She opens a separate jar and pulls out what looks like flattened beetles marinated in tamarind paste. He grabs them gleefully and runs off. Beside the insect stall, a man is roasting frogs over an open fire. They are skewered neatly and turned every few seconds. He brushes them with a mixture of chili, garlic, and something that smells suspiciously like fish sauce. He offers you one, but you shake your head. One culinary leap is enough for this hour. Instead, you watch as a grandmother and her grandson approach the cricket vendor. She buys 2 banana leaf packets, then presses one into his hands. He opens it, selects a single cricket, and bites down thoughtfully. She smiles and pats his head. He offers her the second one, a quiet snack shared between generations. The vendor has moved on to her next batch. She tosses silkworm pupae into the pan, then adds thin slices of lemongrass and a pinch of turmeric. The sizzling is louder now, and the scent is surprisingly inviting. A nearby customer starts chatting about how her mother used to dry crickets on a flat roof and season them with palm sugar. You take a few more bites from your packet. The flavors are complex, toasted, slightly herbal. The lime leaf lingers on your tongue. You sip from a nearby vendor's cup of pandan tea to balance the taste. It is cold and sweet, a perfect partner to fried crunch. As the wok is cleaned and prepped for the next batch, a teenager passes by holding a tray of deep-fried mushrooms. You buy one out of curiosity. It is golden, crispy, and piping hot. You bite in. It steams against your lip and reveals a soft, savory center. The taste is familiar, like something you once had during a thunderstorm. The insect vendor offers you a final treat. Tiny rice crackers topped with a few fried ants. You hesitate. She tells you they are tart, like lime. You try one. She is not wrong. The crunch is immediate, and the flavor surprises you with its brightness. You nod slowly. Not bad. Children gather around the vendor's baskets now, pointing to favorites, laughing and arguing over who gets the last grasshopper. A few start to chant a rhyme about brave bellies and crunchy toes. You do not understand all the words, but the meaning is clear. Eating bugs is not just food. It is a rite of passage. You sit for a while beside the fire. The coals glow quietly, and the wok cools slowly. The vendor leans back, sipping from a clay cup and wiping her brow with a handkerchief. She thanks you for trying her food. You thank her for feeding your curiosity. You stand, brushing crumbs from your lap. Your leaf packet is mostly empty now. A few lonely legs remain, too crisp to be unkind. You fold the leaf and tuck it into your bag. A reminder, a story. As you walk away, you hear the vendor singing softly to herself. Her voice is light, drifting above the scent of lemongrass and oil. A song for the morning, for the insects, for full bellies and open minds. And somewhere deep in your own belly, a quiet satisfaction settles. Warm, spiced, crunchy. The smoke from the fire pits begins to thin, lifting in gentle swirls above the market's roofs. You wander farther, leaving behind the crisp bite of insects and the rich crackle of hot oil. A softer sound pulls you forward now. Bells, not the clang of alarms, but the gentle chime of metal on metal. It rings slowly and calmly, like a signal that something sacred is nearby. You follow the sound around a bend in the path where paper lanterns sway gently from low wooden beams. Their colors have faded in the sun, but their shapes remain elegant. Pinks, oranges, and yellows dangle like fruit from the ceiling of a covered walkway. At the end of it, a courtyard opens up, bright and calm. This is the temple market. You step into the space and feel your pace slow. The noise of haggling has softened. Here, the voices are quieter. The laughter is gentler. The stalls are simpler, lower to the ground, and more spaced apart. A row of monks, young and old, sit beneath a canopy, sipping tea and offering small trays of goods, not as vendors, but as a part of something larger. Their stalls are filled with modest items: herbal teas, incense bundles, dried flower garlands, and small jars of coconut oil mixed with crushed jasmine. One monk raises a hand in greeting. He smiles and gestures to the kettle in front of him. You sit beside him, and he pours you a cup. The tea is warm, faintly sweet, and smells like roasted rice. It sits on your tongue like a whisper. You sip and listen as he tells you, slowly and with long pauses, that temple markets have long been places of gathering, not just for goods, but for community. People come here for prayer, for peace, and for conversation over soft drinks and woven fans. Historians still debate the role of temples in economic life. Some say they were centers of charity. Others argue they were deeply tied to trade and wealth, acting as both banks and bazaars. Here, the answer feels simpler. The temple holds the market gently, offering space without controlling it. A girl approaches carrying a bundle of pandan leaves wrapped around something steaming. She sets them down beside a pot and unwraps one for you. Inside is coconut milk custard, smooth and still warm. You take a spoon and taste. It melts immediately, sweet and creamy with a hint of salt. The girl grins and disappears behind a curtain of hanging beads. Next to her stall, an older woman arranges lotus buds in neat rows. Their petals are still closed, tight as fists. She dips them one by one into a bowl of cool water, then lays them on a tray with slivers of candied ginger and tiny bags of rock sugar. A sign above her stall reads, "For offering or sweet soup." You ask which she recommends. She shrugs and says, "Depends on who you're feeding." A few feet away, a stall offers grilled coconut pancakes stacked like coins. Each one is browned perfectly, with a crisp edge and a soft middle. You buy two. They disappear quickly. The vendor raises his eyebrows and passes you a third without a word. You eat slower this time. At the far end of the courtyard, a narrow path leads through a gate of carved stone elephants. You pass beneath it and find a quiet corner where incense hangs in the air. Here, a group of women sit weaving mats. They have trays beside them with preserved fruits, mango, banana, pineapple, all sliced thin, dried in the sun, and dipped in sugar. They offer you samples. You chew slowly. The dried mango is chewy, tart, and deeply comforting. It tastes like something that took days to prepare and was not rushed. One woman hums softly as she braids strips of pandan into a fan. Another tells a story about the monk who once tried to cook without fire and ended up with cold rice forever. Everyone laughs softly, including you. The temple bells chime again. A few boys come running past, carrying trays of sticky rice wrapped in lotus leaves. They pause at each stall, offering the packages with small bows. You take one, unwrap it, and discover the rice is filled with minced peanuts and sesame. A perfect bite. No more, no less. Nearby, a cat sleeps under a bench. A pair of dogs sit patiently near the monks, hoping for scraps. One monk breaks a biscuit in half and offers it to them. They wag their tails once, twice, then settle into the shade. You walk back through the courtyard, past the lanterns, past the rows of flower garlands swinging from wooden hooks. A woman ties one around your wrist and says it is for safe walking. You thank her. The petals are soft and cool against your skin. Before leaving, you return to the monk's tea stall. He pours you one last cup, still warm. You ask him if the market here is always this peaceful. He smiles. Only when people remember to move slowly. You take his advice to heart as you step back into the rhythm of the broader market. The sounds swell again. Voices rise. Music returns. Footsteps speed up. But in your hands, the tea is still warm. The garland is still fresh. And within you, something sacred lingers. You find yourself following a narrow path where the stalls grow closer together and the air thickens with the scent of dried rice and sun-warmed herbs. Under a tall tamarind tree, women sit cross-legged on woven mats, their skirts brushing gently against one another. Around them are baskets filled with grains, pulses, and dried spices, all arranged like the spokes of a wheel. This is the quiet corner of the market, where gossip flows more freely than coins. You step closer and are welcomed with a smile and a pat on the empty space beside a large sack of jasmine rice. You sit carefully, folding your legs as best you can. A bowl is passed your way. Inside are toasted rice kernels, crispy and golden. You pop one in your mouth. It crunches loudly. The women laugh, not unkindly. They are measuring out handfuls of rice using their fingers as scales. No weights, no cups, just experience. One woman pours red rice into a wide bamboo tray and begins winnowing it, tossing it gently into the air, letting the breeze carry away the lighter chaff. The grains fall back into the tray like quiet rain. Another woman leans forward to adjust a pile of mung beans, muttering something about her neighbor's daughter getting engaged. This sets off a wave of chatter. You catch only fragments, but the rhythm is soothing. Births, marriages, whose husband failed to catch fish, whose cow wandered into someone's garden. A universe contained in low voices and flicking hands. They talk as they work, and their fingers never stop moving. Historians still argue whether ancient Thai markets were more about trade or community. The truth, from where you are sitting, seems obvious. Trade happens, yes, but it is the talk, the connections, the shared rituals that shape the space. You help one of the women tie a bundle of shallots into a braid. She checks your knot and nods. Good enough for your first try. You feel oddly proud. Another woman unwraps a bundle of dried tamarind and begins shelling it, her fingers stained dark from the sticky pulp. She offers you a taste. The fruit is sour and tangy, almost electric. She laughs at your reaction, then tells a story about a neighbor who once tried to sweeten tamarind with too much sugar and ruined an entire batch. A little girl arrives, carrying a packet of sticky rice in one hand and a boiled egg in the other. She plops herself into her grandmother's lap and begins eating noisily. Her grandmother pinches a bit of egg, dips it in chili salt, and offers it to you. You accept, nodding in thanks. The salt makes the egg's flavor pop like fireworks in your mouth. Behind you, someone begins to hum an old song, a lullaby, maybe. Others join in softly, their voices weaving together like thread. The melody rises gently and falls again, like the passing of a breeze. A basket of garlic is tipped over accidentally. The bulbs roll across the mat and into the folds of skirts. No one seems to mind. The garlic is collected with slow hands and knowing grins. You help sort long beans into piles based on size. A vendor says she can tell a good harvest by how the beans bend. She shows you. You try. Yours snap too easily. She chuckles and takes over. You sip from a cup of rice water someone offers. It is cloudy, cool, and faintly sweet. The kind of drink that feels like it belongs to this hour, to this place, and to people who sit on mats rather than chairs. The sun begins to angle differently, casting longer shadows through the tamarind leaves. One of the women starts to pack up her grains, tying the sacks closed with careful knots. Another wraps her vegetables in banana leaves and places them into a basket balanced perfectly on her head. But not everyone is in a hurry to go. A few remain, still talking, still winnowing, still trading stories more than goods. A young boy runs up, asking if anyone has seen his chicken. This sparks laughter, a few suggestions, and a surprisingly detailed debate over whether the chicken ran toward the temple or the river. You are asked your opinion. You point upstream. They nod solemnly. Perhaps you are right. You rise, brushing rice dust from your pants. The mat has left a pattern on your skin. You smile. One of the women presses a small cloth pouch into your hand. It holds toasted rice, she says, for snacking, for sharing, for remembering. You thank her and turn to leave. But before you go, you pause. You look around. This corner of the market was quieter, slower, but it has left its mark on you. The winnowed rice, the tamarind pulp, the smell of garlic and stories shared across mats. These are the things you will carry. As you walk away, you hear one woman say, "He helped with shallots." Another replies, "Then he is welcome any time." You do not look back, but you smile. You move away from the circle of woven mats and chatter, back into the sunlit maze of the market. The air feels a little saltier here, tinged with something sharp and briny that makes your nostrils flare. You follow it instinctively, weaving through baskets of dried chilies and towers of clay pots. Then you see them, a row of low tables glinting in the sunlight, lined with pale pink shrimp curled neatly into rings. Next to them, trays of tiny silver fish shimmer like scales in the breeze. The salt harvesters are here. You kneel beside one of the tables, where a young girl is arranging shrimp into drying patterns. They are not random. They form neat spirals, like flower petals or suns, carefully placed so each will dry evenly beneath the heat. Her brother works beside her, silent and focused. He arranges small fish in rows that resemble calligraphy, each curve deliberate. Their mother watches from nearby, hands busy with a large sack of salt. She moves slowly, pouring white crystals into shallow wooden trays. Some trays hold fish, others are empty. The salt dries in the open air, catching flecks of sunlight and sparkling like sugar. You dip your finger in and taste a pinch. It is pure, biting, and clean. She sees you wince and laughs softly. Salt harvesting is a centuries-old practice in these parts, closely tied to the rhythms of tide and sun. Historians still argue whether the salt in ancient Thai markets came more from coastal flats or inland evaporation ponds. In truth, both existed, and both required patience and skill. The mother explains that they collect brine in the early morning, then let it settle in wide pans. The sun does the rest. What remains is not just salt, but memory preserved in crystals. You watch her scoop the drying shrimp from the spiral and transfer them into a basket. She lines it with banana leaves, folds the edges inward, and secures it with strips of reed. Nothing is wasted, nothing is rushed. Further along the route, another vendor offers you a sample of dried squid. It is chewy, slightly sweet, and dusted with something that tastes like chili and lime. You chew thoughtfully while he explains how they hang squid on bamboo poles, letting them twist slowly in the breeze like paper mobiles. Next to him, a stall showcases bottles of fish sauce so dark they are nearly black. A few have handwritten labels, others bear symbols etched into the glass. You lift one and sniff. The smell is sharp and powerful, but behind it is something almost caramel-like. The vendor tells you that her family has been making this sauce for generations, using the same clay jars buried halfway in the ground, letting time and temperature guide the fermentation. She points to a row of small clay lids near her feet and says one of them is from her grandmother's batch. You believe her. A boy nearby is using a flat wooden rake to spread more salt onto fresh fish. He hums as he works. The sun bounces off the tray, and the fish glisten with a shimmer that feels almost theatrical. He stops, holds up a tiny fish to the light, squints, and places it gently back in its row. You help him for a moment, mimicking his rhythm. Scoop, spread, place, straighten. It is soothing, like combing a garden of silver. A breeze lifts the edge of one of the drying trays and sends a few shrimp tumbling. The girl from earlier catches them mid-roll, her hands fast and practiced. She does not scold the wind. She adjusts the tray and pats it softly, as if reassuring it. Behind you, someone pours salt into a sack tied with palm rope. The crystals fall in a soft cascade, sounding like dry rice or distant rain. You watch as he seals the sack with a knot, then marks it with charcoal. You cannot read the characters, but the date seems fresh. Perhaps it is from this morning's harvest. You pause beside a stall that sells both salt and small bundles of dried seaweed. The vendor explains that these are not just for cooking, but for rituals, for bathing, even. You take a bundle and smell it. It is earthy, oceanic, and a little sweet. She tells you it wards off sickness. You tuck it into your bag, just in case. A young boy runs by with a toy boat made from salt sacks and twine. It sails smoothly along the edge of the wooden path. He grins as it bumps against your foot, then scoops it up and waves before disappearing between stalls. The sun climbs higher. The fish glisten more brightly. The salt trays shimmer like mirrors laid out for the sky. You sit for a moment on the edge of the drying area, sipping water from a clay cup offered by a nearby vendor. It is cool and a little gritty from the wind, but refreshing all the same. A few vendors stretch out beneath makeshift awnings, resting in the shadows of their own goods. You look at your hands. They are dusted lightly with salt and faintly pink from the shrimp. The smell lingers, but not unpleasantly. It reminds you of sea air, even here, far from any crashing waves. You rise slowly, brushing your palms on your trousers. A few salt grains remain, catching the light. You do not brush them away. As you walk on, past the drying trays and the neat spirals of fish, you feel the warmth of the sun still rising. You hear the soft scraping of rakes, the shuffle of sandals, and the constant rustle of the breeze. And somewhere in the background, the salt continues to form, grain by grain, quiet and patient as ever. You leave the shimmering trays of salt behind, your steps quieter now, and your fingers tingling slightly from the crystals. The air begins to shift once again. This part of the market smells alive in a different way. Not fishy or smoky, not sweet like grilled fruit. It smells green, bright, a little sharp, and somehow healing. You round the corner and find yourself surrounded by bundles of herbs piled high on woven tables. They spill over the sides in great green clouds. Lemongrass, galangal, kaffir lime leaves, turmeric roots, wild ginger, holy basil, and strange vines with names you do not recognize. A vendor hands you a stalk of something that smells like pepper and mint, then tells you it will clear your nose, ease your stomach, and help you sleep. You believe her. The stall is not just selling herbs for cooking. Here, food and medicine blur together. Some bundles are meant for curry, others for fevers. Some are both. A small handwritten sign reads, "Soup for cough or curry for guests. Your choice." You laugh and tuck the stalk behind your ear. A man sits nearby with jars of crushed herbs and oils, each labeled with a painted symbol. He dabs one mixture behind his ears and offers you the same. You try it. Your skin tingles gently, and your mind clears a little. He nods, pleased, and returns to mashing more roots in a wide stone mortar. Historians still debate whether early Thai herbal knowledge was passed down more through monks or midwives. Some records credit temple scrolls, others cite oral traditions. Either way, the knowledge runs deep here, and you can feel it in the way the vendors handle their herbs, with careful fingers and reverent silence. Next to the apothecary, a young girl arranges bundles of lemongrass and turmeric onto a tray. She ties each with a single strand of banana fiber, then lines them up like bouquets. She tells you, in a hushed voice, that her grandmother taught her how to blend herbs based on scent alone. If a mix smells too angry, it needs sweet basil. If it smells sleepy, add lime peel. You inhale a bundle and nod. She grins, then adds one to your basket without asking. Nearby, a woman stirs a pot filled with coconut milk and curls of galangal. She offers you a spoonful. The soup is creamy, earthy, and sharp at the same time. She tells you it can soothe a cold or fill a belly, depending on what you need. You decide it is doing both. In the next stall, a man sells herbal compresses, bundles of herbs wrapped tightly in cloth and steamed until warm. He lets you hold one. The heat seeps into your palm, carrying with it the scents of camphor, lime, and something floral. He tells you to press it on your shoulder. You do. The tension softens immediately. You thank him, and he bows slightly. At the edge of this herbal stretch, a cluster of vendors sits under a large fig tree, chopping roots and whispering stories. One woman grates turmeric onto a flat stone while another pours hot water over dried hibiscus petals. The water turns crimson. They add a spoon of honey and hand you a cup. It is tart, sweet, and bright enough to wake your senses. A soft debate brews among them. They are arguing, gently, about whether coriander cools the body or heats it. One woman insists it depends on how it is prepared. Another swears by toasting the seeds first. A third shrugs and says, "Just listen to your tongue." You smile. The argument fades as someone begins to sing. The tune is low and slow, a kind of lullaby wrapped in steam. A grandmother calls you over to show her bundle of bayanong leaves. She tells you they are slippery when boiled and perfect for soup. She claims they chase away fevers and calm the heart. She pats your wrist, presses the leaves into your hand, and says you look like someone who needs calming. You laugh and accept the gift. A group of children is playing nearby, collecting fallen leaves and pretending to make potions. One pours water into a carved coconut shell and adds tiny flowers. She offers you a sip. You decline. She pretends to faint dramatically, then gets up and runs off giggling. A dog sleeps beside the mortar station, its nose twitching from the herbal scents in the air. A cat stretches along a ledge, blinking slowly at the humans fussing over curry roots and tea leaves. As the day warms, some vendors begin to pack up their herbs with care. The bundles are placed in wide baskets, covered with cloths to preserve their oils. Some will be sold to homes, others delivered to temples or taken upriver. You stay a moment longer, sipping more of the hibiscus tea. A breeze rustles the fig leaves overhead, sending down a few stray petals. The sun catches the steam rising from a pot of lemongrass broth, painting it gold. You stand, your arms filled with fragrant bundles. The air clings to your clothes, carrying the scents of 10 different cures and at least 5 kinds of curry. You take one last deep breath and turn to go. As you leave, a vendor calls out, "Boil the lemongrass gently. No rushing." You nod. Nothing in this market is meant to be rushed. You carry the lemongrass bundle tucked under one arm, its slender leaves brushing softly against your side. The herbal scents linger around you like a cloud, a gentle reminder that food and healing are not so far apart. The market shifts once again. You follow a winding lane shaded by tall banana trees, their wide leaves flapping lazily above your head. The breeze changes, warmer now, and with it comes the unmistakable smell of sweets. It is not the sharp sweetness of fruit or the deep, rich sugar of candies. This is something delicate. Toasted coconut, palm sugar melting into syrup, the nutty scent of sticky rice roasted over flame. You turn a corner and find them, the dessert vendors. Their tables are low and wide, covered in trays and baskets filled with color. Sweets wrapped in banana leaves, tiny confections shaped like flowers, jelly cubes that catch the sun and glow like stained glass. You kneel beside one of the stalls, eyes wide. A woman unwraps a leaf parcel and reveals two small dumplings, dusted with coconut. She tells you their name, slowly, patiently. She says they are filled with mung bean paste and rolled in freshly grated coconut. You try one. It is soft, chewy, and just a touch sweet. You close your eyes as it melts in your mouth. She watches you with a knowing grin. Historians still debate which Thai desserts predate outside influence. Some say the coconut-based ones came after trade brought sugar and spices. Others believe the sticky rice recipes were native all along. What is certain is this: the market has always had room for sweetness. Another vendor hands you a skewer of grilled banana coated in a syrup so dark it looks like lacquer. The banana is warm, slightly smoky, and wonderfully soft. You take slow bites, each one better than the last. She nods approvingly and offers you a second. You hesitate. She insists. You take it. At a nearby table, children gather around a large slab of stone, pounding roasted sesame seeds with a mallet. Their laughter bounces off the walls as seeds scatter in every direction. The vendor laughs too, unbothered, and sweeps the stray seeds back onto the slab. She will roast them again. Nothing goes to waste here. Next to her, a girl carefully spoons a thick, amber-colored syrup over ice. The syrup smells of pandan and toasted rice. She hands you a bowl with a wide, quiet smile. You sip the syrup. The cold sends a shiver through your teeth. The sweetness is deep and mellow, with a finish like honey left too long in the sun. A tray of tiny jelly flowers catches your eye. Each is shaped like a lotus or an orchid. They come in soft pastel colors: rose pink, lavender, pale green. The vendor explains they are made with rice flour and coconut cream, steamed in delicate molds. You try one. It wobbles slightly on your tongue, then dissolves with the faintest floral note. It feels more like a breeze than a bite. At the edge of the dessert lane, a woman prepares kingdom croque, coconut rice pancakes made in small round molds over a clay stove. She pours the batter with a ladle carved from bamboo, then adds bits of corn, taro, or chive. You wait as the batter bubbles, the edges crisping into golden lace. When she hands you a set, they are warm and slightly crisp outside, creamy within. You bite into one, and it disappears before you know it. Another vendor sells palm sugar toffee, pulled by hand into soft ropes. He stretches it over a wooden beam, folds it back, and repeats the motion with a hum. Children gather to watch, eyes wide. He twists a piece into a spiral and hands it to you. It sticks lightly to your teeth and tastes like sun-soaked molasses. Someone calls out for roasted sticky rice balls, and a new aroma joins the air. Slightly charred, slightly sweet. A young woman rolls them between her palms, pressing sesame seeds into their soft surfaces. She hands you one on a skewer. The texture is chewy, the flavor earthy and sweet with just a kiss of salt. You sit on a nearby mat to enjoy your small feast. All around you, people snack slowly, chatting between bites. An older man dips his jelly in coconut cream. A woman unwraps sweet taro paste from a banana leaf and shares it with her daughter. Even the dogs sit politely, tails wagging in hope. The dessert lane hums not with urgency, but with joy. It is a place of small pleasures, shared bites, and soft laughter. No one rushes dessert. It is a pause in the middle of the day, a moment when the world feels soft and slow. You thank the vendors as you rise. Your pockets are heavier with wrapped sweets, and your hands are sticky with syrup. A little girl offers you a napkin made from woven grass. You accept it, bowing slightly. She curtsies and skips away. As you walk on, the sweet scents fade gently behind you, replaced once more by the smells of herbs and grilled rice. But on your tongue, the memory of coconut cream lingers. The sun has begun its slow descent, stretching long beams of amber light across the market's winding paths. The air grows thicker, fragrant with a mix of spice, smoke, and something deeper, something savory and rich. Your feet guide you into a stretch of the market where clay pots bubble and sizzle with purpose, and thick wooden ladles stir slowly, as if every circle counts. This is curry country. You pause near a stall where 3 large pots sit over glowing coals. The vendor lifts the lid of the first pot and the scent makes your eyes water in the best way. It is red curry, thick with coconut milk and punctuated with floating slices of bamboo shoot, eggplant, and bright slivers of red chili. She dips a ladle and offers you a small bowl. You sip slowly. It is warm and creamy, but the heat builds like a lazy sunrise, creeping until your whole chest tingles. You cough gently and smile. She laughs and points to the second pot. This one holds green curry. It is smoother, silkier, but carries a different kind of heat. Beneath the sweetness of basil and the bite of green chilies is something floral, a note that dances rather than punches. You take a spoonful and nod with wide eyes. She fans your face playfully. The third pot contains massaman curry, darker and spiced more gently. You taste clove, cinnamon, cardamom. There is a quiet richness to it, a slow roasted calm that settles in your belly like a lullaby. You close your eyes after the first bite, just for a moment. Historians still debate the exact origins of Thai curry. Some trace its influences to Indian spice roots, others to Persian trade. What is clear is that over centuries, Thai cooks adapted these traditions into something entirely their own, guided by local herbs, seasonal produce, and deeply rooted taste memory. A young man next to you spoons yellow curry onto sticky rice and wraps it in banana leaf for a customer. The rice soaks the sauce slowly, turning golden and fragrant. He nods at your empty bowl and gestures toward the rice steamer behind him. You nod back. More, please. As you wait, a nearby vendor pounds fresh curry paste using a stone mortar. You hear the steady rhythm of pestle meeting stone. She adds chilies, garlic, shallots, shrimp paste, lemongrass, and galangal. The paste darkens with every stroke. She works with quiet concentration, barely glancing up. When she finishes, she smears a bit on a banana leaf and waves you over. You try a pinch, just the paste, no broth, and it stings your tongue immediately. She chuckles and says, "That is for tomorrow's fire." You laugh, your lips tingling. Next to her, a smaller stall specializes in jungle curry. It is thinner, water-based, no coconut milk, and packed with wild herbs and vegetables. The vendor tells you it was the hunter's curry, made with what could be foraged or caught that day. You dip a piece of pumpkin into the broth and taste. It is sharp and herbal, wild in both flavor and story. A boy walks by carrying a tray of fermented fish curry. He offers you a bite. It is intense, salty, bold, and full of umami. Not everyone's favorite, he says, but his grandmother's cure for homesickness. You chew slowly and decide he is probably right. You find a spot beneath a tamarind tree and sit with a bowl of curry and rice. The heat of the curry warms your hands through the bowl. The rice is perfectly sticky, holding the sauce like a promise. Around you, others eat in silence. A woman stirs her curry with the end of her spoon before each bite. A man carefully removes the chilies from his bowl and places them on a leaf, untouched. A child mashes his rice into a soft paste before licking it from his fingers. Every person has their rhythm. Every bowl tells a slightly different story. A vendor across from you sells bundles of curry paste wrapped in waxy leaves. She marks each bundle with a small flower petal, red for spicy, yellow for sweet, white for mild. You purchase one of each, more for the colors than the labels. You watch as a group of young monks walk past, each with a bowl tucked under one arm. Vendors press small ladles of curry into their containers, bowing slightly. The monks bow in return and move on, barefoot and quiet. A dog follows them, tail wagging. A few birds circle above, drawn by the scent. One swoops low and lands on a beam, watching closely. Below, a cat naps beside a basket of garlic, undisturbed by the commotion. The sun dips lower, and lanterns begin to appear, one by one. They sway gently, casting warm yellow light over the curry pots. The steam from the broth takes on a golden hue. You finish your bowl slowly, feeling the heat settle deeper now. Your mouth buzzes, your hands are warm, and your chest feels steady, like a drum that has found its perfect rhythm. You thank the vendor, who hands you a small folded packet of herbs to take with you. For digestion, she says, patting your arm. You tuck it into your bag. As you stand and stretch, you glance back at the curry lane. The pots still bubble, the mortar still sings. The air is still heavy with spice and warmth, and behind you, a trail of golden steam floats gently in the night air. The lanterns flicker more brightly now, their soft light glowing in hues of amber, orange, and pale green. You follow the changing rhythm of the market as it shifts gently into evening. The colors feel deeper, the voices lower. Even the breeze has changed direction, now moving slowly, like a sigh through the trees. You pass by the curry stalls with their simmering pots and fragrant trails of spice, and turn into a quieter path where the mood shifts again. This lane is lined with mats and wooden crates, not for selling food, but for sharing it. You have stumbled upon the communal eating area. Here, long wooden benches run alongside stone paths, and people sit in quiet clusters. Some talk, some do not. All are eating. A soft hush lingers over the space, not from rules, but from mutual understanding. This is the part of the market where you do not haggle, or sell, or shout. You simply eat. A woman waves you over and gestures to an open spot on the bench beside her. You settle in. She pushes a bowl your way, filled with warm rice, roasted peanuts, dried shrimp, and fresh herbs. You nod your thanks and pick up a spoon. The flavors are simple but satisfying. Each bite offers crunch, softness, and a faint hint of lime. The woman does not speak much, but her smile is kind. She eats slowly, eyes half closed, as if each mouthful deserves a moment to itself. A family nearby unwraps a bundle of banana leaf to reveal grilled fish, still steaming, garnished with sprigs of mint. They divide it carefully, placing flakes onto small mounds of rice. The father dips his in sauce, offers a piece to his youngest, and then to you. You hesitate, but accept. It is salty, tender, and infused with the smoky scent of charcoal. Historians still wonder whether ancient Thai food customs encouraged this kind of communal eating outside of festivals or ceremonies. While temple records mention shared meals, and royal cookbooks list elaborate feasts, much of what truly endured came from these simple moments: knees brushing on a bench, fingers lifting food wrapped in leaf, silence filled with understanding. You glance across the table and notice a man crushing roasted chili into his soup with the back of his spoon. He stirs, blows on it, then lifts it carefully to his lips. The smell reaches you before the steam fades, a deep, roasted fragrance with a kick. He grins when he catches you noticing and tips his bowl slightly in your direction, a wordless invitation. A group of students sits cross-legged nearby, hunched over plates of fried noodles and pickled greens. One girl reads aloud from a note, then bursts into laughter. Her friends join in. You catch only a few words, but their joy is unmistakable. Further down, an elderly woman with a large silver bowl ladles out congee, a thick rice porridge flavored with ginger, garlic, and bits of dried fish. She moves slowly, placing each bowl gently in front of her guests. You receive one too. The first bite is creamy and comforting, like being wrapped in a warm towel. A boy runs past holding to skewers of grilled mushrooms, waving them like victory flags. His grandmother calls after him, not with scolding, but with amusement. He disappears around the corner, his laughter bouncing off the walls. Next to you, someone unpacks a basket filled with jackfruit. The vendor slices it open, revealing bright golden flesh. The fruit is sweet and fragrant, with a texture somewhere between soft and springy. He passes out slices, and one lands in your hands. You bite. It is honey sweet, with a whisper of something floral. People here share without question. A cup of water passed along, a pinch of chili offered to adjust a bland dish. Someone hands you a pickled radish. Another offers sticky rice sweetened with sugarcane. You thank them all, nodding and smiling, as your words feel too small to contain the warmth. Children carry trays of desserts to nearby tables, offering them like messengers of goodwill. You see more flower-shaped jelly, slices of roasted pumpkin, and cups of crushed ice with syrup trickling down their sides like watercolor. A dog ambles through, sniffing here and there. It receives a piece of grilled fish from one stall and a boiled egg from another. No one chases it away. It has earned its place. As the stars begin to peek through the canopy of banana leaves above, the pace of the market slows even more. The clang of pots fades. The laughter softens. People eat with the kind of quiet focus that suggests they know there is nothing more pressing than this meal. You look around, and every face seems touched by golden light. It is as if the lanterns have woven everyone together with invisible thread. You eat the last of your rice. The bowl is empty, but you do not rise immediately. You sit and breathe, letting the fullness settle not just in your stomach, but in your chest. The woman beside you taps your arm and offers a small packet wrapped in leaf. You unwrap it slowly to find roasted coconut mixed with sticky rice and a few strands of mango. She nods once and turns back to her meal. You take a bite, and it is the perfect end. Warm, soft, a little sweet. You look up. The lanterns sway gently overhead. The stars blink between the leaves. The air hums with the sounds of full bellies and gentle conversation. And for a moment, everything feels held, balanced, complete. You rise from the communal bench, your limbs slower now, your belly full and your thoughts softer. The path ahead is quieter than before. Most of the market's daytime noise has faded into murmurs. You follow a trail of low lanterns, each one hanging from a bamboo pole and glowing like a quiet firefly. The ground beneath your feet is firm, packed from generations of walking, swept clean by endless sandals. This is where the craftspeople work. You come upon a row of stalls that are not filled with food, but with tools. Mortar and pestles carved from stone, clay pots in all shapes, knives with smooth wooden handles, baskets that seem woven from moonlight and shadow. You pause at one of the tables, running your fingers along the edge of a round clay steamer. The vendor smiles without a word, then holds up a second one, showing the slight curve in the lid designed to trap and return steam. He lifts the lid to his nose and inhales deeply. You follow his lead. It smells faintly of smoke, rice, and something floral, perhaps jasmine. He places the steamer in your hands, as if passing down a family heirloom. You do not ask the price. You nod and return it with both hands. Craft tools like these are the bones of a market. Historians still argue whether the craftsmanship here was shaped more by necessity or tradition. Some claim utility always led. Others argue that beauty mattered even for everyday things. The answer is likely both, wrapped together like the coils of a woven mat. Beside him, a woman demonstrates how to use a long bamboo cylinder to steam sticky rice over a fire. She pours water slowly into the base, then fits a cone of banana leaf at the top. A little boy stands beside her, mimicking every motion. She lets him place the rice, then pats his head with a flour-dusted palm. Another stall sells spice grinders made from volcanic rock. The vendor invites you to try one. You place a handful of dried chilies into the bowl and begin to grind. The motion is slower than expected, almost meditative. The smell rises quickly, a mix of heat, smoke, and something faintly bitter. You stop to breathe, blinking through the sudden spice cloud. The vendor hands you a bit of steamed rice to clear your nose. It works. Next door, a family works on carving coconut shells into bowls. The father sands each one to a smooth finish. The daughter burns patterns into the surface with a heated tool. Flowers, stars, spirals. Each bowl is different. You pick up one with a lotus etched deep into the curve. It feels warm in your hands, like it remembers being part of a tree. A man nearby sells knives and chopping boards. He lifts a blade and slices a mango with such precision that the fruit slides apart into perfect fans. You applaud softly. He bows, then wraps the slices in a leaf and offers them to you. The mango is cold and sweet. You chew slowly, the coolness cutting through the warmth of the market's earlier spice. Past the tools and utensils, you find a narrow bench where a young woman weaves baskets. She moves like water, her hands steady and sure. Palm fronds fold and twist beneath her fingers, forming circles that tighten into shapes. You sit and watch her, mesmerized by the rhythm. She tells you her grandmother taught her to weave while waiting for the rice to cook, that each basket is a story, with folds like sentences and knots like punctuation. You nod. Even if you do not understand fully, the meaning is in the movement. You try your hand at it, clumsily. Your fingers fumble. The pattern collapses. She laughs gently and corrects you, guiding your hands with hers. Eventually, a small loop holds. Not perfect, but yours. You thank her and place the loop in your pocket. A few stalls down, another craftsman shapes clay into cooking pots using a foot-powered wheel. His leg moves in slow, steady circles. His hands guide the clay, coaxing it upward into form. You notice a small chip in one of the pots. He smooths it without pause. Imperfection, he says, is part of the meal. He invites you to touch the wet clay. You do. It is cool and slick, with a texture like thick cream. You imagine food being cooked in it. Sticky rice, banana, perhaps fish. You see steam rising, lips smiling, bellies full. The path narrows, and you find yourself beside a table filled with wooden spoons, ladles, and spatulas. Each is carved from a different tree. One smells of camphor, another of sandalwood. You choose one that fits your hand perfectly, neither too long nor too light. You hold it for a moment and imagine stirring soup under a starlit sky. The sun has dipped behind the horizon now. The sky holds the color of ripe papaya. The lanterns sway in the cooling breeze. And still, the craftspeople work, not in haste, but with quiet care, as if each motion holds weight. You pause at the edge of this path and look back at the hands that shape food not by flavor alone, but by form. The bowls, the baskets, the blades, all these things that carry taste from fire to mouth. You press the woven loop in your pocket. Its edges are slightly frayed, imperfect, but still holding. You walk on, your hands scented with wood, your thoughts softened by clay and string. As you move forward, the path begins to slope gently downward, leading you toward the edge of the market where fewer stalls remain and the river hums softly in the distance. The sound of water draws you in, low and rhythmic, like a drum played underwater. The air here carries moisture and the scent of earth, sweetened by damp leaves and softened wood. You arrive at a row of floating platforms tethered gently to the shore. These are the river vendors, small boats with canopies woven from bamboo and roofs patched with faded cloth. Each boat rocks slightly with the movement of the water, and lanterns dangle from the corners, casting golden ripples across the current. A woman stands on the nearest boat, flipping small pancakes on a griddle balanced across a charcoal stove. Her movements are quick and practiced. The pancakes puff slightly, then settle into soft, golden rounds. She lifts one with a bamboo skewer and gestures for you to take it. You crouch at the edge of the platform and reach. The pancake is warm and fragrant, filled with something soft and slightly sweet. Banana, maybe, or taro. The edges are crisp. The middle melts like steam. You nod gratefully. She smiles and returns to her stove. On the next boat, a man stirs a pot of soup, its broth cloudy with herbs and floating bits of mushroom. He uses a ladle shaped from half a coconut shell. As he pours the soup into a small clay bowl, he explains that river markets like this once flowed with fish, greens, and floating spices. Everything moved with the water, including the meals. Historians still argue about how essential floating markets were to trade in inland Thailand. Some believe they were central to community life, especially when roads were rare. Others say they were supplementary, more symbolic than vital. You watch as another vendor hands a bundle of herbs across the boats and smile. It feels vital from here. A boy rows by in a narrow canoe filled with water jars. He balances easily, one foot at the edge, one hand guiding the oar. He calls out greetings to each boat he passes. A vendor tosses him a packet of food wrapped in leaf. He catches it midair and waves, never breaking his rhythm. You walk carefully along the floating platforms, your steps match to their gentle sway. Each boat holds something different. Grilled river fish skewered on bamboo, baskets of wild greens gathered from the river banks, bowls of sticky rice colored with blue pea flour, The food feels more quiet here, more tied to place. You sit at the edge of a platform and dip your fingers in the water. It is cool, with a gentle current that pulls softly but firmly. A fish darts beneath the surface. You glimpse its silvery belly before it vanishes. A woman approaches in a small boat, steering with a single paddle. She sells lotus stem salad, soaked in vinegar and chili, topped with roasted peanuts. She ladles a serving into a clay dish and hands it to you with a wooden fork. The stems are crunchy and tart. Each bite is a burst of freshness, like the river itself. Beside her, a girl sells grilled sticky rice wrapped in banana leaves. The outer layer is charred and crackles as you unwrap it. Inside, the rice is smoky and sweet, with a core of molten coconut and black sesame. It sticks to your fingers and your memory. Further along, an older man sells dried river fish strung together with twine. He offers you one, along with a piece of green mango and a tiny dish of chili salt. You chew the fish slowly, its saltiness softened by the sour fruit. He chuckles at your expression and hands you a cup of water without a word. A dog sleeps on one of the boats, belly rising with each breath, ears flicking lazily at flies. A cat pads past, tail curled like a question mark. The vendors barely glance up. Everyone belongs here. A vendor across from you begins to play a bamboo flute. The sound is high and thin at first, then settles into a low, winding melody that drifts over the water like mist. The boats rock gently in time with the music. Even the lanterns seem to pulse with its rhythm. You look out at the river. A few small boats drift beyond the market, their silhouettes soft against the dusk. You imagine meals being cooked in them, spices passed from hand to hand, fish caught and grilled within minutes. A life carried by water. A woman beside you offers you a tiny dessert made from mung bean paste shaped like a fish. It glistens under the lantern light, delicate and exact. You bite it in half. It tastes of coconut, sugar, and something else. Care, maybe. As the sky deepens into night, more lanterns are lit. They bob above the boats like stars that forgot to stay in the sky. The river glows softly, its surface broken only by the occasional paddle or ripple from a passing fish. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the water's rhythm settle into your chest. The sound of the flute, the creak of wood, the scent of lotus and lemongrass, it all blends into one long exhale. When you open your eyes again, a woman is handing you a small bundle of lotus petals. Inside are rice, herbs, and a pinch of tamarind. A final gift, a floating meal. You thank her, rise carefully, and begin to make your way back across the swaying path of platforms. The river hums behind you, still singing its slow song. You leave the floating platforms with their lanterns gently bobbing on the water, and step once more onto solid earth. The ground feels firmer now, but your body still carries the soft rhythm of the river. Your ears adjust to the return of footsteps, quiet laughter, and the shuffle of goods being packed away. This is the evening shift of the market, when sellers begin to close their stalls, and others, those who specialize in late-night comforts, emerge. The lights are dimmer here, more golden than bright. The air cools, carrying with it the scent of roasted grains and herbal smoke. You follow it to a small courtyard, tucked between woven walls and quiet trees. It feels hidden, like a place not everyone knows about. In the center, a group of women sits around a low fire. One stirs a pot filled with something thick and bubbling. Another fans a small grill, where rounds of sticky rice puff and toast over glowing coals. The scent is nutty and sweet. You settle onto a woven mat, your legs folding beneath you. A bowl is passed your way. Inside is a warm rice porridge, speckled with mung beans and garnished with fried shallots. It smells like bedtime. You take a bite. The texture is soft and slightly chewy, the flavor gentle but full. A comfort food with a long history. One woman explains that this type of dish was once given to travelers at temple rest stops. It is said to soothe the stomach and calm the spirit. Historians still debate how many recipes like this one came from royal kitchens or from village hearths. In truth, many dishes drifted between both, shaped more by memory than record. Beside the fire, a younger girl roasts slices of plantain. She sprinkles them with palm sugar and lets the edges caramelize until crisp. She offers you one. It sticks to your fingers and cracks slightly when you bite into it, releasing a rush of soft, sweet flavor. You nod in appreciation. She beams. A kettle whistles softly in the background. Someone pours tea into clay cups, the liquid dark and fragrant. You accept a cup and wrap your hands around it. The tea smells of pandan and toasted rice, a blend meant to lull rather than wake. You sip slowly, letting the warmth spread through your chest. A dog curls up near your feet, tucking its nose beneath its tail. The fire crackles, casting shifting shadows across the woven walls. You lean back slightly, eyes half closed, as a woman begins to hum a lullaby. In a corner of the courtyard, an older man arranges medicinal herbs into small cloth pouches. He ties each one with string and places them gently into a basket. A customer approaches and chooses 3. The man nods and hands them over with a few whispered words, perhaps advice, or perhaps just a blessing. You finish your porridge and place the bowl beside you. A vendor offers you a small bundle wrapped in banana leaf. You open it to find black sticky rice mixed with taro and coconut. The taste is deep and earthy, sweet but not sharp. It lingers on the tongue, as if reluctant to say goodbye. The conversation here is soft. Some speak in whispers, others not at all. A woman brushes her daughter's hair with long strokes, both of them quiet. Another vendor tidies her space slowly, stacking dishes and folding cloth, her movements unhurried. You rise and walk toward a stall lit only by candles. It sells sleep aids made from local ingredients, dried lotus petals, lemongrass oil, tiny pillows filled with rice husk and pandan. You pick one up. It smells like fields after rain. The vendor explains that people once believed certain smells could shape dreams, not control them, but nudge them gently. You purchase a small satchel and tuck it into your bag. A little boy beside you picks out a similar one and hugs it to his chest. His mother gives you a tired smile. You return it. Another kettle whistles. More tea is poured. Someone passes you a piece of sweet rice cake, dyed pale purple, with butterfly pea flour. You bite in. It is soft, barely sweet, almost more texture than taste. Perfect for a mouth too tired to chew, but still wanting one last bite. The fire burns lower now. The vendors fold up their mats. A few children stretch out beside their parents, eyes closing as the heat fades. A soft yawn echoes across the courtyard like a song. You feel your own breath deepen. Not sleep, not yet, but the kind of rest that settles in your bones. A stillness earned. You thank the women around the fire. One presses a small bundle of rice into your hand, for the road. You nod, bow slightly, and make your way out of the courtyard. The path forward is quieter still, lit now only by scattered lanterns and the occasional flicker of candle light. You walk slowly, the sound of your steps muffled by soft earth and fallen petals. Behind you, the fire pops once more, then falls silent. You follow the lantern-lit path, your feet moving slowly, your breath quiet. The market now feels like a memory unfolding in real time, soft and unrushed. You pass stalls being gently dismantled, vendors wrapping their goods in cloth and twine. A cart rolls by, its wheels creaking under the weight of unsold ginger and green bananas. A rooster clucks lazily somewhere in the distance, confused by the flickering lights and fading voices. The trees lining this stretch are taller, older, their branches forming a loose canopy overhead. Hanging from them are wind chimes made from shells, wood, and bits of metal. As the breeze moves through, they tinkle softly, a quiet percussion that keeps time with your steps. You round a bend and come upon a space unlike the others. Not a stall, not a courtyard. It is more like a shrine, tucked between 2 banyan trees. At its center is a low platform covered in small offerings, cups of rice, slices of mango, incense sticks, garlands of jasmine. A few candles burn with steady flames. The scent is floral, with a hint of ash and coconut oil. An older woman sits nearby, legs crossed, eyes closed. She opens them slowly as you approach and gestures for you to sit. You do. She does not speak right away. Neither do you. Then she holds out a small bowl. Inside is a mixture of toasted rice, grated coconut, and crushed banana. She says it is a dish made for ancestors, but also shared with travelers. You take a spoonful. It is sweet, warm, and familiar in a way that makes you pause. She tells you the market was built around places like this. Not just stalls and walkways, but pauses, spaces meant for breath, for reflection, for remembering. Historians still debate whether these shrines were strictly religious or part of a more practical spiritual rhythm. Some say they were for luck, others for protection. The woman says they are simply necessary. Behind her, 2 children stack small cups of water and place marigold petals inside each one. They move quietly, reverently, as if performing a task that matters more than its size suggests. The woman begins to hum, a low, slow sound that rises and dips like the motion of the river you left behind. You close your eyes and listen. The wind chimes above you join in, their song light and uncertain, as if unsure whether to speak or stay silent. A cat winds around your leg and settles in your lap. Its purring is faint, but you feel it through your fingertips. You open your eyes and find that the woman has moved on to arranging candles. She lights each one, cups the flame, then lets it go. The light spills out and flickers gently, adding warmth to the shadows. She tells you that food is offered here every evening, sometimes only a few grains of rice, other times whole meals. She points to a dish with grilled fish, perfectly placed, steam still rising. No one will eat it, but everyone will feel its presence. You sit in silence, watching as others stop briefly to bow or whisper a few words. A boy leaves a green mango, slightly bruised. A young girl places a flower crown, crooked but full of care. You feel a weight ease in your chest, not lifted exactly, just softened. The woman stands and offers you a small bundle wrapped in dried leaf. She says it is for safe travels. You nod and tuck it into your bag without asking what is inside. The not knowing feels right. You thank her with a bow. She returns it and turns back to her candles. As you leave, a breeze stirs the trees again. The chimes above sing their fractured tune. The flames flicker. The petals in the water cups ripple, reflecting bits of lantern light and starlight overhead. You walk onward, the scent of incense still lingering, your steps now even slower. The market is quieter with each passing moment, but this part, this sacred, quiet corner, lingers in your memory longer than the meals or the colors. You look back once. The shrine is still glowing, still held between the 2 banyan trees like something timeless. You step back onto the main path, now softened by evening and lit only by the flicker of lanterns and the occasional glow from a hearth. The market feels like it is breathing its last for the night, exhaling warmth, scent, and memory into the still air. You continue forward, guided by a sound not of voices, but of motion. There is a rustling ahead, not the rustling of leaves, but of cloth, of hands folding and sorting, of wheels turning slowly on worn paths. You find yourself at the edge of the textiles area, where food has faded into fabric, and spice has been replaced by thread. Here, women sit on low stools weaving cloth on wooden looms. The sound is steady, rhythmic. The click of the shuttle, the tap of the beam, the soft pull of thread against finger. The woven fabrics hang around them like soft walls, dyed in shades of indigo, ochre, turmeric yellow, and charcoal gray. They ripple slightly in the night air. You step closer and run your fingers along one length of cotton. It is soft but strong, dyed with natural pigments and patterned with rows of tiny elephants. The vendor smiles and tells you the dye was made from leaves she gathered during the last full moon. You ask her how long it took to make. She shrugs, then says, "Long enough to tell a good story." She pulls out another cloth, this one deep blue with a pattern of waves. She explains that in earlier times, patterns told family stories. Which village, which river, which crop? Historians still debate how many of these designs were passed down deliberately or simply remembered by hands that repeated what they saw. But every thread, she says, knows where it came from. You pass another loom where an old woman works in silence, her hands faster than her eyes. She does not look up, but her cloth grows steadily, one line at a time, until a small boy beside her shouts in joy. She has reached the end of the pattern. He claps. She nods and ties off the thread. Next to her, a younger girl shows you how to twist palm fibers into rope. Her fingers move confidently, and soon the rope becomes a handle for a basket. She hands it to you. It smells faintly of sun and river. You try the motion yourself, and your attempt results in a rather uneven twist. She does not laugh. She just shows you again. A few steps away, a man displays robes and scarves in a neatly folded tower. Each layer is a different shade of the same color, as if he were capturing the sky at different times of day. He holds up one in soft lavender and tells you it was dyed with butterfly pea flowers, soaked overnight in lime water to shift the color. You buy a small handkerchief, mostly because it smells like rain and looks like dusk. A group of children sits on the floor nearby, learning to embroider leaves onto cloth with thread dyed in turmeric and charcoal. Their teacher corrects them gently, never raising her voice. She tells them stories as they stitch. Stories about rice spirits, about frogs who bring rain, about a tree that used to sing. You cannot tell where her story ends and the embroidery begins. You crouch beside a woman who is sorting spools of thread by tone. She explains that the market used to have a thread-dyeing pond. Everyone came to dip their threads, stirring them slowly in great vats of boiled bark, leaves, or fruit. She gestures to her basket and says she still uses that same method. You believe her. Her hands are stained deep red, and her scarf smells faintly of tamarind. At the edge of the textile row, a man repairs a fishing net using thread so fine it almost disappears. He works by lamplight, humming to himself, tying knot after knot. You watch for a while, realizing how little your eyes can follow his fingers. He does not look up, just says, "Every knot is a memory?" Or a mistake. A pair of vendors nearby sell patchwork blankets made from worn scraps. Each square is different, a little frayed, a little stained, but stitched together into something comforting. You pick one up and hold it to your cheek. It smells like wood smoke and old stories. You fold it back carefully. The looms continue their soft music. The threads hum their quiet song. The cloth speaks in patterns and silence. As you move to leave, an older woman calls you back. She presses a small bundle into your hands. Inside is a roll of fabric no longer than your forearm, dyed indigo with a spiral of white. "For your pocket," she says, "or your pillow." You thank her and step away. Behind you, the cloth flutters once more. The wind moves gently through the dyed fabrics, creating waves of color that ripple like memory across the evening air. You walk on, wrapped not in cloth, but in the warmth of hands that weave not just fabric, but quiet connection. The air shifts again as you leave the textile row. The rustle of fabric fades behind you, replaced by something more immediate, more practical. The ground beneath your feet feels firmer, and your nose picks up the unmistakable tang of metal and earth. You have wandered into the tools and pottery section of the market. Here, rows of carefully laid out goods glint faintly in the lantern light. Mortar and pestles carved from granite, iron cooking pots with blackened undersides, ladles made from coconut shells, woks that bear the burn marks of hundreds of meals. This is where the ingredients meet their destiny. You pause at a stall where an older man sharpens knives on a flat stone. The sound is rhythmic, a slow scrape that cuts through the hush of evening. Sparks flick briefly when metal meets metal. He greets you with a nod, then lifts a blade and slices clean through a piece of raw sugar cane. He hands you a slice. It is crisp, sweet, and earthy. He tells you his family has made cooking tools for 3 generations. His father taught him to forge blades under a clay roof shed, using bellows made from cowhide. Historians still debate how much traditional Thai metalwork was influenced by neighboring cultures. Some credit Indian blacksmiths. Others argue for a homegrown style that blended utility with quiet beauty. Beside him, a woman stacks clay pots. They are unglazed, smooth to the touch, and shaped to nest perfectly. She runs her hands over each one, checking for cracks with the ease of someone who knows how to listen to silence. She picks one up, knocks gently on the rim, and nods at the hollow sound. "Good clay," she says, speaks in echoes. You lift one. It is lighter than you expect. The inside smells faintly of smoke and rain. She tells you it is best used over slow heat, and that some cooks even believe the pot decides the flavor, not the cook. You smile. That sounds fair. Across from her, a younger man sells bamboo steamers and grilling baskets. He demonstrates how to place sticky rice into a steamer, nest it above boiling water, and let the fragrance rise through the open weave. The baskets are pliable, shaped to hold fish, mushrooms, even tiny quail eggs. You buy one, though you are not sure what you will steam first. Nearby, a boy carries a stack of clay bowls balanced on one arm. He walks slowly, but without fear. Each bowl is different, painted with soft brush strokes, birds, lotus flowers, stars, a few show animals you do not recognize. He sets them down, one by one, then starts sorting them by color. A group of vendors gathers around a long table where they debate the best kind of wood for cooking spoons. One insists on teak, another swears by tamarind wood. A third taps her spoon on the table and says, "Whatever falls from the tree when you need it most." They laugh. You do too. You pause at a low bench where an elderly woman carves patterns into wooden ladles. Her hands are steady, her knife small and sharp. She works slowly, adding a curl to the handle of one spoon, a spiral to another. She offers one to you, warm from her touch. It smells of oil and smoke. You accept with quiet thanks. Another vendor shows you a clay stove the size of a small bucket. He explains how it holds charcoal, how the air flow is controlled through carved vents, how food is best cooked over slow flame with frequent turning. You lean in and smell the faint char of previous meals. He hands you a bundle of rice husks used for kindling. Fire needs patience, he says. Like soup. You smile and place the bundle in your satchel. At the edge of the tools section, a girl paints bowls with simple white strokes. Her fingers are stained with dye. She sings softly as she paints, something about stars falling into soup. You sit for a moment and watch. She does not stop, just keeps painting, one brushstroke at a time, until the bowl in her hand becomes something more. A cat stretches across a nearby bench, its paw twitching as it dreams. A lantern swings gently above, casting shadows that dance across the stacked cookware like ripples in a stream. You look around. Everything here is shaped by hands, not machines, not lines, just hands, time, and fire. Before you leave, you buy a small clay bowl. The vendor wraps it in banana leaf and ties it with twine. You hold it gently, cradling its weight. You walk onward, the scent of oil and wood still clinging to your sleeves. The bowl presses against your chest like a warm stone. The market narrows again, drawing you back into quiet paths, where the sound of footsteps is soft and the night presses closer. The bowl remains warm in your hands. You walk slowly now, the soft weight of the clay bowl in your hands anchoring you to the present moment. The market is near silent. Only a few vendors remain, their voices hushed, their movements unhurried. The lanterns burn low, casting long shadows across the path. Even the insects seem to chirp more gently here. The path leads you to a space surrounded by tall grasses and woven screens. The scent in the air shifts again, this time to something green, something bitter and clean. You realize you have entered the area of herbs and traditional remedies. Baskets of dried leaves, bark, roots, and blossoms sit in neat piles. Each carries its own smell, its own purpose. Lemongrass, ginger, galangal, holy basil. Some you recognize. Others are unfamiliar, with names whispered like secrets. An older woman sits at a mat surrounded by bundles of herbs tied in twine. She is grinding dried turmeric in a stone bowl, her hands stained yellow from years of work. She gestures for you to sit. You do, folding your legs under you, watching as she adds bits of dried ginger and clove. She tells you this mixture is for warming the stomach, good after meals, better before sleep. She hands you a cup of water and a small pinch of the golden powder. You stir. The taste is sharp, earthy, and strangely soothing, a little bitter, but in a way that makes your breath deepen. Historians still debate how much of traditional Thai herbal practice was influenced by Chinese medicine, by Indian Ayurveda, or by local hill tribe traditions. Many say it is all three, woven together through centuries of practical knowledge and seasonal rhythm. Others insist it is its own lineage, born of climate, terrain, and necessity. Beside her, a younger man lays out cloth bundles filled with herbs for steaming. He unwraps one to show you. Inside are pandan leaves, kaffir lime, eucalyptus, and camphor bark. He explains that villagers place these bundles in hot water, then cover their heads to inhale the steam. You pick one up and breathe in deeply. The smell is strong but refreshing, like walking through a rainy forest. Nearby, another vendor prepares herbal compresses, round cloth bundles tied tightly and packed with herbs. She warms one over coals, then presses it gently into your palm. The heat seeps in. The scent opens like a flower. Peppery, floral, calming. She says the compress is for sore muscles, for long walks, and for restless nights. You place it in your bag, already imagining the warmth against your back later. A boy arranges rows of small jars. Some are filled with oils, pale green, golden yellow, soft amber. Others contain balms and salves. He opens one for you to smell. It's minty and strong, meant to clear the sinuses. Another smells of lavender and rice husk, said to chase away bad dreams. He hands you a small jar. You dab a bit on your wrist. The scent clings, soft and round, like sleep in a bottle. Under a tree, a woman ties bundles of dried flowers together. She hums softly as she works. You ask what the flowers are for. She replies, peace. You smile, unsure if she means the feeling or the wish. Perhaps both. Another vendor lets you taste a tiny bit of honey mixed with tamarind. The sweetness is sharp, then smooth, and lingers at the back of your throat. She tells you it is good for coughs, for singers, for people who forget to breathe deeply. You laugh. Then you breathe. You sit beside a basket of crushed betel leaves, their green color darkening at the edges. The vendor nearby explains that some chew the leaves for energy, for clarity, or simply for habit. He says it's not for everyone, but everyone seems to have tried it once. The breeze picks up slightly, stirring the herbs and sending their scents drifting across the mat. You close your eyes and let the smells wash over you. Ginger, basil, lime, lemongrass. You feel your shoulders drop. Someone offers you a piece of dried fruit soaked in salt and sugar. You bite into it. The flavor is unexpected, tart and complex, but strangely addictive. You take another piece. A girl brings over a bowl of water with floating flower petals. She offers it to rinse your hands. You dip your fingers in, and the water is cool, scented faintly with jasmine. You dry your hands on a cloth that smells like rice fields and early mornings. As you stand, one of the vendors presses a bundle into your hand. Inside is a sprig of basil, a pinch of turmeric, and a tiny envelope of dried chrysanthemum petals. For your dreams, she says. You thank her, tuck it gently away, and begin to walk again. The herbal lane recedes behind you. It smells lingering on your clothes, in your hair, and somewhere deeper. You feel lighter, as if some weight has shifted just enough to make room for rest. Ahead, the lanterns grow fewer, the path narrower. You press the herb bundle close to your chest. The scent of sleep follows you. The herbal path fades behind you, leaving only faint wisps of lemongrass and clove in the air. Your feet take you down a smaller, quieter track lined with smooth stones and flowering shrubs. There are fewer lanterns now. The ones that remain are low to the ground, their flickering light casting golden reflections on dew-damp leaves. You realize you are approaching the edge of the market. Here, the air smells cleaner, earthier, a mix of wood smoke, damp soil, and sweet banana leaves. The chatter of people has faded into the distance, and the silence feels like a warm blanket settling over your shoulders. You pass a final grouping of stalls, simple, low tables draped in woven cloth. These vendors are different. They do not call out. They do not make change or wrap goods in palm leaf. They sit, quietly, beside bowls of rice, baskets of fruit, and jars of preserved things. A man offers you a seat beside him. He speaks softly, and you have to lean in to hear. He tells you that this part of the market is for preserving what would otherwise disappear, things too delicate for crowds or too strange for midday appetites. He opens a jar of pickled lotus root and spoons a small piece onto a leaf for you to try. It is crisp and sour, with a lingering sweetness. You chew slowly, tasting time. He points to a basket of dried snake fruit, explaining that it was once soaked in salted plum water, then laid out to dry in the sun for days. You take one and nibble. The texture is leathery, but the taste grows brighter with each chew. Historians still argue about how much preservation was for survival and how much was for memory. Some say the salted, dried, pickled things were made only to extend shelf life. Others believe they were made to hold onto moments that would otherwise pass too quickly. Next to the man, a woman displays waxy rice cakes dyed soft green with pandan. She offers one, and you take it. The texture is tender and sticky, and it smells of coconut and steamed leaves. She tells you it was made using a mold carved by her grandfather. A tiny flower design blooms in your hand as you lift the cake to your mouth. You take a bite. It is gentle, barely sweet, like a whisper of something remembered just before waking. Nearby, a boy sells smoked bananas wrapped in charred leaves. You watch him unwrap one, revealing the darkened fruit inside, soft and caramelized. He presses one into your palm. It is still warm. You take a bite. The sweetness is deep and earthy, touched by fire and time. You sit on a mat and let the food rest on your tongue while your eyes adjust to the darkening world around you. Another vendor offers a preserved egg sliced thin and served with slivers of ginger. The yolk is dark, the texture firm, the flavor surprising. You chew slowly, surprised by how comforting it feels. Someone pours tea from a clay pot. It is darker than the others you've tried, with a smell like toasted grain and roasted sesame. You sip, and the flavor grounds you instantly. It tastes like dusk, like the end of something gentle. A few children gather nearby, their mouths sticky with syrup from dried mango slices. One hands you a piece, and you laugh softly at the way the sugar clings to your fingers. You eat it in 2 bites. A man beside you opens a jar of fermented vegetables, their scent strong and sour. He hands you a slice of pickled turnip wrapped in sticky rice. The flavors are bold and unexpected, but they settle in nicely. Another woman unrolls a bundle of dried fish and lays it out in a small circle. She explains that her village sun-dries these strips over several days, turning them by hand and brushing them with tamarind paste. You take a piece. It is chewy, salty, and oddly sweet. Each preserved item you try tells a story of waiting, of slowing down, of letting flavor deepen and soften with time. You begin to understand why this part of the market is placed at the edge. It is the last stop, the final turn, the place where things are not rushed. Here, the night comes slowly, the fire burns low, the food lasts longer. A woman hands you a tightly wrapped ball of sticky rice with black sesame and smoked coconut inside. She tells you to eat it tomorrow, with your tea. You nod and place it carefully in your bag. You sit for a long while, sipping the last of your toasted tea and watching as the last few lanterns dim. The vendors begin to pack away their baskets, not hurriedly, but with quiet precision. Each item returned to its place, each cloth folded neatly. No rush, only care. You stand and thank those around you. Someone places a single star fruit in your palm as a gift. You smile and begin to walk again. The market fades behind you now. Faint scents of pickle, smoke, and sweetness drift on the air. Your hands are full, your belly content, your eyes heavy. Ahead, only trees and quiet paths remain, and the soft hush of night surrounds you like a song. The trees close in gently now, as though the market itself has taken one last breath and released you into the night. The flicker of lanterns fades behind you, replaced by moonlight weaving through leaves. The path beneath your feet becomes softer, a carpet of moss and fallen petals. Your body moves without effort, as if carried forward by memory. Ahead, a bamboo gate swings slightly in the breeze. Beyond it lies a garden. It is not grand or ornate, but humble and purposeful. Beds of herbs, banana trees, low walls of woven reed. You step through quietly. In the garden's heart, a circle of woven mats has been arranged. Around them, baskets rest, filled with the remnants of the day. Wilted grains, soft tomatoes, unused rice, But there is no waste here. Each item has its place, its future purpose. An old woman kneels by one basket, sorting tamarind pods from their shells. Her fingers move slowly, methodically. She does not look up when you approach. Instead, she gestures for you to sit beside her. You do, folding your legs, your hands resting in your lap. She places a tamarind pod in your palm. You crack the shell. Inside is sticky fruit, dark and sweet with just a hint of sour. You taste it. It clings to your teeth and fills your mouth with memory. She speaks softly, explaining that this garden is where the food begins and ends, the place for gathering what remains and planting what is next. It is quiet work, end-of-day work, work made for reflection. A cat stretches along the garden wall. Its belly rises and falls slowly. It blinks at you and returns to sleep. Another woman waters a patch of holy basil with a gourd ladle. The water flows in arcs, catching bits of moonlight before soaking into the dark soil. She moves slowly, like someone who has never rushed a day in her life. You watch as she hums softly to the plants, not a song you recognize, but something that feels like it belongs here. Historians still discuss how ancient Thai households balanced the roles of food production and market exchange. Some say backyard gardens like this were more valuable than coin. Others argue they were supplemental, a humble luxury. But as you watch these women, their hands stained with earth and their baskets full of tomorrow's flavors, it is clear that this space holds power of its own. You help gather fallen kaffir lime leaves from the garden floor. Their edges curl, and their scent is sharp and clean. The woman places them in a small bowl and adds slivers of dried ginger. She hands it to you, saying it is for boiling before bed, to clear the air, to welcome quiet. A young girl collects banana leaves with care, folding them neatly. She stacks them beside a small fire pit. Another prepares to roast sticky rice in bamboo tubes, gently stuffing each with sweetened coconut rice and capping the ends with pandan leaf. The fire is lit. The bamboo crackles as the rice steams inside. You sit nearby, watching the flames shift in shades of orange and blue. The smell is gentle, like rain falling on warm wood. One by one, the women bring small items to the fire circle. Leftover soup poured into a clay bowl. A grilled fish wrapped again in banana leaf. Bits of fruit. Pieces of cake. They do not eat them. They simply set them down. You ask why. One woman answers, for those who have eaten, but are still hungry. She does not elaborate. She does not need to. A boy arrives carrying a bundle of lemongrass and tamarind skins. He feeds them into the fire. The smoke rises, fragrant and light, curling upward toward the trees. You sip from a cup of warm rice water, handed to you by quiet hands. The drink is mild, comforting, and a little nutty. You feel it settle in your stomach, a soft warmth spreading outward. The fire pops gently. A few embers drift into the air, glowing for a moment before fading. You hear laughter, low and content, not loud, just the kind that sits in the belly and rolls out without effort. The bamboo tubes are unwrapped now. One is handed to you. You peel it back and find the rice inside sticky and golden, with threads of toasted coconut running through it. You take a bite. It is warm and soft, with just the right amount of chew. You eat slowly, watching the others as they speak, or don't. No one forces the moment. It stretches as far as needed. The old woman rises and sweeps the mats gently. She hums again, the same tune as before, and the fire dims. You help gather the empty bowls. One is placed in your hands. Inside is a final piece of candied ginger. You eat it, its warmth rising through your chest and lingering in your throat. The others begin to leave, quietly, walking back toward homes or hammocks, or simply fading into the trees. You remain for a moment longer, seated beside the fire, the last bits of smoke curling toward the stars. You stand, bow gently to the garden, and turn once more to the path ahead. It is quieter now. The trees seem taller, the night deeper, but your steps feel lighter. You carry the scent of tamarind and smoke with you. You walk now through what feels like a tunnel of trees. The branches lean inward, their leaves rustling softly with the breeze. A few lanterns remain, but most of the light comes from the moon, wide and calm above you. Its glow touches the tops of the banana trees and turns every puddle into a mirror. The air is cool and rich with the scent of night. Damp soil, lingering smoke, and crushed leaves mix together into something that feels both ancient and fresh. Ahead, you hear a sound like fabric flapping in the wind. You round a corner and find yourself at the edge of the sleeping quarter. This part of the market is not for buying or selling. It is for resting, for people who arrive late or came from far away. For those who have no need to rush home, dozens of woven mats lie arranged under open shelters. Some people are already asleep, wrapped in light cloths, their heads resting on rolled garments. Others sit quietly, sipping tea or wiping down their feet. You remove your shoes and step onto one of the empty mats. A young boy brings you a cup of warm water. He says nothing and walks away. The cup smells faintly of pandan. You sip slowly. It tastes like calm. Next to you, an old man hums a tune with no words. He chews slowly on a sliver of betel and rocks back and forth. He catches your eye and grins, showing teeth stained deep red. You grin back. Someone nearby begins to tell a story. It is not shouted or declared, but simply shared. A quiet voice, steady and warm. You cannot catch every word, but the rhythm settles into your ears like waves against a dock. It is a story about a fisherman who could speak to frogs. Or maybe the frogs could speak to the river. It doesn't matter. What matters is how the voice dips and swells, how it pulls your attention, then lets it drift again. You lie back on your mat, arms folded over your chest, eyes staring at the ceiling of woven palm leaves above you. A gecko chirps from somewhere in the rafters. Another answers. Then silence. Historians still wonder whether these market sleep spaces were a formal tradition or simply grew from necessity. Some argue that communal resting was offered by temple-sponsored markets. Others believe it was the natural generosity of vendors who knew the weariness of travel. A woman nearby lights a small clay lamp and places it by her side. Its light flickers gently, casting gold against her resting face. A child sleeps curled beside her, one hand still clutching a rice ball. Someone snores lightly. Another coughs. But nothing disturbs the hush. You wrap the cloth you carry around your shoulders. It still smells of herbs and cooking smoke. You close your eyes for a moment, and the darkness feels softer than before. You hear the soft padding of feet. Someone offers you a pillow, a roll of woven cloth that fits perfectly behind your neck. You thank them without speaking. The voice telling the story has faded now. In its place is the hum of crickets and the occasional flap of a bird settling onto a branch. You sit up once more and look around. This part of the market does not glitter or boast. It does not feed or dress or scent the body. It simply holds it. You realize how rare that is. You rise quietly and walk a few steps to the edge of the sleeping space. A small open fire burns there, tended by a single vendor. He waves you over and offers a last cup of roasted rice tea. You accept. It is warm and toasty, the taste like a memory from long before you arrived. He does not ask where you are going or where you have come from. He simply sits beside you, poking at the fire with a stick. You drink in silence. When the tea is done, he takes your cup and sets it aside. You bow your head to him and return to your mat. The cloth over your shoulders slips slightly, and you let it. The moonlight filters through the palm roof, drawing pale lines across your face. You breathe in. You breathe out. You let the market hold you for just a while longer. The night has grown deep now, the kind of quiet that hums low in your bones. Even the crickets seem to sing more slowly. The lanterns have mostly gone out. The few that remain burn low, their flames small but steady, glowing like memory. You sit once more on your mat, your body heavy in a pleasant way, like dough that has finally risen. The garden herbs in your pocket give off the faintest whisper of scent. You touch the bundle gently, then lie back with your hands folded across your chest. From somewhere nearby, you hear the slow turning of pages. Someone reads, perhaps to themselves or maybe to the stars. Their voice is too soft to follow, but the rhythm lulls you nonetheless. Then, a sound you haven't heard all evening, a drum. Not loud, not commanding, just a single, low heartbeat of sound echoing in the distance. You sit up slowly and walk toward it. Beyond the sleeping mats, Past the last stalls and the final flickers of fire, you find the drum. It stands in front of a temple gate, small and simple. The person striking it is older, dressed in plain robes. They do not notice you at first. Their hands move in a slow, practiced rhythm. 1 beat, pause. 2 beats, pause. Then silence. You step closer. The drummer turns and nods once. No words are exchanged. There is no need. You stand beside the gate. The temple is closed. No light shines from within, but the gate itself seems alive. Incense curls through the air, left from earlier prayers or quiet wishes. The drummer stops and sits cross-legged on the stone path. You do the same. The ground is cool. The stones are smooth. Together, you sit in silence. After a while, the drummer reaches into a cloth bag and pulls out a small fruit wrapped in palm leaf. He hands it to you. Inside is sticky rice, sweetened with palm sugar and pressed into a neat circle. You bite into it. The flavor is soft and round, as if the sweetness has aged into kindness. He eats one too, and for a while the only sound is chewing, and the occasional flap of a night bird overhead. Historians still argue about the role of temples in market life. Some say they were merely a backdrop. Others insist they shaped the market's very rhythm. Here, it feels less like argument and more like breath. You finish the rice cake and set the leaf aside. The drummer stands again, nods once more, and disappears into the shadows behind the gate. You sit for a moment longer, then rise slowly and return to your mat. The market behind you is now asleep. You walk through it one last time, past the herb stalls, now dark and silent, past the pottery stands, where bowls still nest in quiet stacks, past the fabric canopies, where dye has dried and stories have been stitched into corners, past the floating stalls, their boats gently bumping against the shore, past the rice baskets and banana leaves. You carry all of it with you. Finally, you return to your mat, place your bundle of gifts by your side, and lie back. The cloth over your shoulders is warm from your body. The stars above blink slowly, like eyes struggling to stay open. And just before sleep takes you, you smell lemongrass, hear a soft snore, and feel your body sink into the earth. You are still, you are held, you are home, and now, the sounds of the market have faded completely. The last ember has cooled, the boats have stopped rocking, the bowls are washed, the mats have been rolled up, but your body still remembers. You can still feel the bamboo steamers beneath your fingertips, still hear the low creak of a paddle in the water. You can taste the sticky rice, the tart pickles, the sweetness of fruit pressed into your palm by gentle hands. All of it lingers. The garden paths, the old songs, the hush of shared food and firelight. You are lying under a roof of woven palm, but your mind floats somewhere between memory and dream. Nothing is rushed here. Nothing is loud. Even your thoughts step more slowly now, padding through the soft corridors of sleep. Your breath is even. Your muscles slack. Your thoughts, scattered like rice husks in the wind, begin to settle. There is no need to hold onto anything. The market will be here when you return. Maybe in another form. Maybe under different stars. But always waiting. Always warm. Let the stories wrap around you now, like a blanket folded by hands that remember the shape of your shoulders. Let the food rest on your tongue like a final lullaby. Let the earth cradle you, the way it does those who know the market by night. Close your eyes. There is nothing more to do. You are safe. You are full. You are home. Good night.